been posted.
Go first.
We've got a quorum present. We're here to consider two issues today. But first, we'll have the reading of minutes of our last meeting.
The last meeting was April 24th. Wait a minute, is that right?
October the 29th.
Wait a minute. I picked the wrong page.
I got it.
I picked the wrong page, wait a minute.
You're good.
Here we go. October 29th, 2014. All members present, with the exception of Lonnie Smith, who was absent, approved the minutes of the previous meeting on April 24th, 2014. Reviewed the most recent financial statement presented by the treasurer. Motion, Mr. Scott, seconded Mr. Bryan, unanimously carried. The report was approved. Mr. Rochelle stated he had received a notice that ARCPID Lebanon 10 LLC has agreed to purchase the premises subject to that lease agreement dated December 20, 2011 from U.S. Real Estate Limited Partnership as part of the Amazon project, and has requested the board to state its knowledge in regard to the present status of the lease. Chairman has previously executed a chairman's certificate as to his knowledge of the status of the lease. He reviewed the terms of a proposed estoppel certificate and recommended that the board approve the same and authorize its execution. Motion, Mr. Bryan, seconded Mr. Hickson, unanimously carried. The recommendation was approved. Chairman Smart suggested the board review the proposed changes to the bylaws and board policy recommended by the subcommittee appointed at the last board meeting. Stated that written copies of the proposal have been timely mailed to each of the board members. The board first reviewed the proposed changes to the bylaws. Following discussion, motion Mr. Richardson, seconded by Mr. Harrison, and unanimously carried. The changes were approved. The board then reviewed the proposed changes to the board policy as shown on the attached copy. Each proposed change was read. Following discussion, motion Mr. Bryan, seconded Mr. Scott, and unanimously carried. The changes were approved. The board established its next meeting for November 25th, 2014 at 4:00 p.m. at the same location.
Have any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, do I have a motion to approve as read? Got a motion.
Second.
Second came from where?
John Bryan.
John Bryan. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Financial report.
Got a financial report there in front of you. You can see our checking account, liquid funds there, $83,585.03 is the balances of October 31st. You can see 5 CDs there as well, with some maturities coming up here in a little bit.
One's already matured.
Yeah, we've got that one working to get it renewed, so that one. And with those CDs there, you can see the total assets of cash of $313,288.57.
Any questions? Have a motion to approve financial report?
So moved.
Mr. Bryan, second. Second, Mr. Myers. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Financial report's approved. We're here to consider 2 points of business today. At this point in time, I'll turn it over to the board's legal counsel, Mr. Rochelle.
All right, we got 2 projects to do today, and do y'all care who goes first?
We do not.
Okay, we'll just go with, I do a little skeleton of the minutes. So let's consider the Under Armour project. Chris Bowles, attorney of Bradley, Aramp, Bolt, Cummings, LLP, attorneys, represents the company. And we need to note that the application fee has inadvertently not been paid. It'll be forwarded to the board tomorrow. And why don't you, Chris, sort of explain the deal to us?
Sure. Mr. Rochelle, I've got a handout that has the press release on the project. Also has sort of the location of the map of where they're going, and I recommend it.
I have copies of the resolution and the tax agreements on this deal. Pass them around in case you want to reference that.
Let's go somewhere that
So I imagine many of you are familiar with the Under Armour announcement. We're talking about a new distribution center coming into town. It's 1,500 jobs and total investment in the land and building estimated at $65 million, and an investment in equipment estimated at $63 million. And the terms of this payment in lieu of tax transaction were presented to the board and previously approved by the board and approved by the Budget Committee of the County Commission. And you have the location. This is in the same industrial park where Panatone Development has been doing a number of these. So they actually will be, or their investor, which in this case is called LIT, LIT Industrial Limited Partnership, is a consortium of investors that will own the land and the building. They will convey that to the board, then the board will lease it back to them, as is common in all the pilot transactions. And then LIT will then sublease that to Under Armour. Under Armour will operate the facility. And on the equipment side of the deal, Under Armour will purchase the equipment, convey the equipment to the board, and the board will lease the equipment back under the terms of an equipment lease. And GC, should I go through the tax abatement terms? Is that something that the board is familiar with, being
They
one of the
qualified
standard?
under our program for a 7-year abatement. That is the maximum amount on both real property and personal property. If that's,
And-
any more than that, but that's.
No, that works. As you know, recently announced, the building's not in yet. So the way that we have structured this, it's anticipated to be built and up and running next year, although there could be delays. So the way this is structured is that although they will convey this over to the board as soon as possible, which will technically take it off the tax roll, they will pay tax up until the point where they, Under Armour announces it would like to commence the pilot, which would be when it gets reassessed likely, or the beginning of the next calendar year. That will be no later than January 1, 2017, and then that 7-year pilot will kick in from there according to the usual schedule. And that will also apply to the full $63 million of equipment as they ramp this project up. Each year's worth of equipment they convey over to the board will receive that same abatement. That's capped out at $63 million, and they have to have installed all of that by, let me see, 2018. So that will be equipment conveyed in 15, 16, or 17 will then receive the tax abatement up to that maximum of $63 million of equipment.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
The earlier board approval he referred to here was the Industrial Development the JECDB Executive Committee. And they came in with the original pilot. The Executive Committee of the JECDB approved it based on GC's calculations of what tax incentive they were entitled to. That in turn was carried to the County Budget Committee, which is required because they have previously approved all the scale of that tax abatement. And now it's come back to this board for the final approval of the issuance of bonds. We've carried out all the due diligence on that. It's going to be over an extended period of time, and there'll be just an immediate period of time. But in fairness, the company has stepped up and said they will pay the taxes until the bills comes to the board, which makes them a good citizen in my eyes and what they're doing there.
So they've already purchased the land.
They're gonna convey it to this board.
Have you purchased or leased?
And then lease back.
Yeah, I understand that, but now they already got the land, so they'll be paying tax on
I
the
believe
land
that's
up
correct. There
to.
may be some parcel that's still to be.
My
closed out.
understanding, that's right. I don't represent the company doing the real estate transaction for LIT. I'm here on behalf of Under Armour. My understanding is that they have entered into the lease with Under Armour, which will become a sublease once this is effective. But they are still assembling certain parcels of land and going through the process of replatting that with the city. And once that's done, then we'll have the appropriate legal description for Under Armour's parcel, because they're gathering a few different parcels together and then replatting it just for Under Armour's.
There's about 200 acres that they acquired under phase 4. They have closed on all the P6 except 1 and 2, which does not affect the million square foot building, or probably even the next million square foot building. So they are still assembling 1 or 2 small tracts, but where the building's being built is, there are multiple family members in that, different tracts. So Panettone assembled the property and purchased it, and they're conveying it to the LIT part.
You've got a copy of the resolution, and as directed by council, that should be placed into the minutes. But right now, what we need to do protocol is we need to recess for a public hearing to allow any members of the public to make comment at this time, address the resolution and the project. So we're in recess for public comment. If I hear of any public comment, step forward and let us know your thoughts, state your name and address. Seeing no public comment, then we'll close the open comment period, and we'll go back into regular session.
I need to make a statement. The anticipated board premium is based upon a total value of property to be conveyed to the board of $128 million. The board premium will be in the amount of $64,500. The pilot agreement provides for full payment of city taxes. In other words, the 2 cities don't have a incentive program like the county does. So it's exempt because it's in the name of the board, but the pilot agreement then puts a requirement on the company to pay whatever city taxes. In MtJuliet, that's a relatively small amount for their fire tax.
Let me also, I'm sorry, if I could, there's a mention that there is going to be an issue of a note today. That's not an actual financial indebtedness like you have if you're actually issuing a tax-exempt bond. What this is it's for the purpose of avoiding a leasehold tax, which can be assessed on any leases that have below market rent, where the owner of the fee parcel, which in this case would be the board, is a tax-exempt entity. So you've seen these on a number of deals before, I'm sure, but this is a fully non-recourse note to the board, and it will be purchased by the, and in this case that's LIT as the landlord. And LIT will hold that debt in its capacity as a lender in this transaction. It will also be a tenant under the facility lease that the board is also approving today. And it's directed to pay rent in the amount of all sums due under the note directly to the lender. At the end of the day, it's a wash transaction. The company is paying itself, but we've run into this many times. If there isn't something that provides for a fair market rental value, which we've always come to the conclusion that a note in the full amount of the property is would result in fair market rent. Then comptroller's office will call us, and the property assessor will put a leasehold tax on it, which would of course defeat the purpose of the incentive. So that's, when you run down the list of documents that are being approved today, it's a Series A note, which is that note I just described. The company, again, LIT, will be taking a security interest in its note, which would be under a deed of trust, and then also a collateral assignment of its lease, which is the document that actually directs the company to pay rent directly to itself as the lender. And then you have the 2 lease documents. The security agreement that you'll see on here that's also being approved isn't under a note, but what the company is doing is it's taking a security interest in its equipment that it's conveying over the board. So it has some protection in the extraordinarily unlikely case the board got hit with a lawsuit and became insolvent for some reason. It will have a security interest in its equipment. That is just securing the board's obligation to give the company its property back if it exercises its purchase option rights under the lease. So that's the suite of documents you're looking at, and the chairman will be authorized and requested to sign. Any questions about that?
Key thing is, I reviewed the documents, they contain appropriate language saying no recourse to the board, no liability to individual members of the board, nor to Wilson County or the state. So I think you got a resolution in front of you that should be proper to consider.
Hearing the words of the presenter and the words of the legal counsel, further questions and discussion.
The resolution on the address is 65 million, and that's for the building.
That's the building and the land, the 63 million on the equipment. Yeah, when you don't have a registered bond, we don't go on the amount of the indebtedness. We set fees based on the total value of the property being conveyed to the board. The 65 million is the land and building, the 63 million is the equipment. It's not mentioned in there because whatever reason they didn't need a note on that part.
Okay.
The reason has to do with
So the note's
Tennessee
only on
General
real
Assembly.
property. Yeah.
That's right, yeah, the statute that provides for leasehold taxes is limited to real property. So on equipment, you can have a nominal lease, or a rent with, a lease with nominal rent, and you don't have that issue.
So that's why we don't have the $63 million identified in the document.
You'll see that in the tax agreement. There's language limiting the investment to that.
Okay.
It's that definition of approved amount on the second page of the equipment tax.
We're dealing with a 7-year period on this in GC.
Yes, they maxed on both of them, Mr. Chairman.
Now, contrary to other agreements we've done, particularly Dale, that was a 40-year agreement, this is an actual 7-year agreement.
We'll talk about that before.
No, I just thought I mentioned we're talking about a 7-year obligation.
So it takes a motion and a second to approve the resolution.
I move approval.
All right, got a motion by Mr. Scott, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Richardson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming to our area.
And if you will wait on us when we get through, then we will get the signed documents.
Thank you. The second we've got is on behalf of Novamet.
Yes.
I'll let council take care of that.
And I also have a handout just to show you where the building, I think we're all probably familiar with the sheet we built.
Yeah, I've got a couple of them here. You got some? Okay, I have just two, or a couple for signing. Okay.
Here's the resolution. And then we'll start down here, Al. Take one and pass them down. All right. This is the Novamet Specialty Products Corporation project. Chuck Grice, attorney of Stikes and Harbison, PLLC, represents the company. Dennis Cotillo, who is the chief financial officer of the company, is also here to tell you a little bit about what the company does and answer any questions you may have. Chuck, you want to tell them about the project?
Yeah, we're here also for a payment in lieu of tax program, and Novamet has already moved in, and you're already in operations and up and running and employing people, so it's a little bit different because they've already acquired the property and acquired most of all of their equipment, not all of it, but most of it. The county has already approved for this pilot for the real estate portion, 7 years of no taxes, and on the personal property, 3 years. And as Chris said, to get it off the tax rolls, we're going to quitclaim this property. I think all of you all probably know where it is here in the city. Quitclaim it to this board, also do a bill of sale of the equipment to this board, and lease it back under a nominal purchase option. We've already mentioned that the leasehold can be taxed, so that's why we're going to have notes issued. Just to make it symmetry, we had a note A for the real estate and note B for the equipment because Regions Bank has an existing loan on this property. And so Regions has lent $4,080,000 on the real estate. They've also taken equipment as this same equipment as collateral. So they are going to purchase, they're going to give you their note that they have now between Novamet and Regions. They're going to use that to purchase the IDB's 2 notes, but they're going to get their notes back as collateral for those notes. The notes, of course, are, the note for the equipment is $690,000. For the real estate that we use, the real estate value that Regions has is $4,080,000. Both on non-recourse. And one other thing I have to do is, according to the new instructions, I have to present to you the report on debt obligation. I have shown it to your council. I guess I could let it circulate, but basically it just says that there's 2 notes, because basically, even though it's non-recourse to you, and it's kind of a dummy note, where Regions basically is paying it itself, it mirrors the Regions. We have to file this with the state. So I have to say that I presented this to the board. Other than that, if you have any questions about Novamet, Dennis Gotilla is here. He moved from New Jersey and he just told me he loves Tennessee. So, are you a Rutgers fan?
No.
Then you're a UT fan now. Officially.
We're trying to become a Titan fan.
That's, don't bother. If you have some questions about Novamet and what they do out there and how many people they're employing, he's here. If you got questions about the pilot, all the documents in our resolution are mentioned, and I've told you a little bit about the existing Regions loan, so I'll be glad to answer any pilot questions.
That is, tell us. Thanks.
Well, why don't we do that during the public hearing?
Oh, okay, yeah, just go ahead and get.
Let me ask us to go into recess and go into a public hearing, because that's required on this. So anyone want to make comments on this project, ask questions. At this point in time, board's in recess. You're free to ask questions and make presentations, so go ahead.
Yes. Again, I'm Dennis Gotilla, Chief Financial Officer. Novamet's a 38-year-old company that was located up in New Jersey. We're really a company that came out of research for Inco Limited, a Canadian mining company. And we've been in New Jersey for 38 years and just relocated down here. The owner is located down here and has owned it for a few years and relocated to Lebanon to Sheba Drive with more property, more building, so that we can expand. Right now we're hiring 25 people and expect to grow because we're in a much bigger facility. Our primary products are nickel metal powders that we process and make flake or process the powders for very specialty applications. They go into powder metals for the automobile industry, electronics for the various, 3M is one of our big customers. It goes into various films and conductive tapes, and also we have nickel oxides that go into auto catalysts into the automobile market. So, we service numerous industries. We have over 60 products, and we're about $30 million a year right now with the larger facilities and the ability to produce more and get into more projects. We tend to grow and continue to grow.
Dennis, you also moved your transportation company over into the building,
Just recently, yes.
which is another 20 employees or so?
Approximately, I think there's 10 people, and then there's the drivers. It could be, I'm not really familiar with that part of it, but they're one of the tenants right now, and owned by the same owner.
So So Novamet has two different companies operating in that 480,000 manufacturing building. You also have a tenant drive time, which card sales, they come in and do fairly extensive work, more than just clean up, front ends work, body work, things of that nature. So
This is the Toshiba property.
this
correct?
is the Toshiba
Right.
building. There's about 280,000 square feet of space left that we're trying to lease. And it is solar and manufacturing space and real improvements in the building. I've replaced heating, cooling units.
Right.
You probably know those numbers more than I do.
Yeah, and within the last year, it's been close to $2 million.
So they're taking a building that was really just sitting there deteriorating and making it an asset for the community.
And all local vendors doing all the work on it. And as we go on, our production supplies are to a great deal local, as well as, nationwide.
Thank you,
sir.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'll close the public meeting. We'll go back into regular session. Any board member have any question about this project? There was a point in time where we wondered what was going to happen to Toshiba. We got the Moscow Deli Brothers in one part of it right now, and this, and now we're down to 250,000 square feet left. What did we start out with, GC?
It's 480 plus 400, about 900,000 square feet, and about 105 acres, I think, or something over there. With a lot of that being in floodplain, so.
We had a general deteriorated campus that was an eyesore as you drove down Carver Lane, so.
Good idea.
Without any if there are no questions, is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Bryan, second by Mr. Myers. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is approved. Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
Thank you for your work. Any other business to come before the board at this point in time that you're aware of, or any other business?
Dennis, you do have an open house, December,
I forget the exact, I think it's 4.
I'll check, but I'd like for the board to be invited.
Yes,
to it.
sorry, I don't.
Please be aware that we've discussed in the past, and I'll work it through the JCDB as we have in the past, but we've talked about funding a dinner, potentially at Five Oaks as an educational night for all the city commissioners, county commissioners, mayors, any other elected officials, to acquaint them with the operations of this board, and also to particularly acquaint them with the operation of the Joint Economic Community Development Board. Some of you may be aware we recently ran into a presentation for the Budget Committee that got modified at that meeting after things had moved on quite well, and that was completely within their right to do that. But after presentation of additional data, they went back to the original incentive that was adopted and presented by GC to the industry and also approved by the JCDB. So they did a stand-up job and did good in taking care of that. We appreciate them doing that. So we'll get an invitation list put together. That'll probably be in late January or February. We'll be along in our budget process for the JCDB at that point in time. And so we'll get an invite, yes, sir.
Let me make note of both of these projects. The officers are going to sign today, and I'll hold up my opinion, which is sort of the last thing. They will close at a later date. Novamet's expecting to close on
Definitely in December. We have to.
Yeah. Under Armour might they feel confident that they can get it done in December. Board does have policy. Board does have a policy that these things, if they lay out there too long, then you have to come back.
Absolutely.
So, even though there'll be signatures today, everything will be held in escrow until such time as the complete closing is ready. Okay?
As you recall, last time we met, one of the things we did in our bylaws was to put that 1 year period in there, that if it lays out there on the table longer, that we have the right to review it. So Being no further business, do I have a motion for adjournment?
The
GC, that's something.
Novomet open house is 3 o'clock on the 18th of December. And they're taking an old building and redone the floors, and it looks like a new facility inside, and that's the top development of it. 3 o'clock on the 18th.
Very good.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
So,
I got one.
Motion to approve, we're in adjournment. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody.